mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my body
Hello. You are now tuned in to the A Little Bit A Lot podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and this week I am joined by a very special, lovely, fantastic, magical guest, Elizabeth. Hello.
Hi. How are you
doing today? I'm good. I was asking you the same question.
Oh God, we're just both just so sweet. All I know is I'm so excited for this collaboration, this episode. I know we've been talking about it for like a few months now, and just really happy that we could finally make a little bit a lot in the in-between meet.
Yes. If you guys are listening, Elizabeth is the host of the In Between podcast, so be sure you guys go check her out. I always say at the beginning of the show, make sure you give this video a like if you're watching on YouTube, comment below letting me know what you think about the episode, and make sure you subscribe to both of our YouTube channels because Elizabeth, you post on YouTube as well for your podcast. And of course, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow both of our podcasts, rate us that 5 stars. On Apple, rate us that 5 stars and give us a review to let us know what you think about our shows.
Yes.
So yes, this week, like you said, I'm so excited to be joined by you. We've been talking about this collab for quite a while, and I just feel like we're both kind of, anxious girlies. We rep that very well. I think it's kind of like a badge of honor. I may or may not have ADHD. I hate to claim it, even though I feel like it's
claim it. Trust yourself. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. That's my number one thing. You know you better than anybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Quick note, just to give a little context here, when me and Elizabeth were offline, we were talking about how, she has ADHD, and I was letting her know that I think that I have it too, because I was talking to my therapist about the list of different things that I've, gathered with evidence leading me to believe that I do have it. And my therapist recommended me to a testing site. So I still got to figure that out. I'll be sure to update you guys on that. But that's the reason why I was saying that I was scared to claim it, because a part of me feels like I can't say that I have it, even though I haven't been officially diagnosed. But it's I'm pretty sure I do. So we were just let's just claim it. All right, back to the episode. But that's one thing I admire about you, is that you're always so open about it on your show. So that always just kind of gives me fuel for mine to be
Aww.
Even if I'm okay. We got this. We can navigate this together.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So yeah, like I said, I'm super excited to have you on. And this week I felt like, what better person to get into the gags with than you to talk about productivity guilt? Because I was listening to your show, one episode you kind of touched on the subject, and in the DM I said we have to get more into that subject.
Yes, absolutely. So productivity guilt, it's not just something that I think people with ADHD struggle with. I think anybody who is honestly, I think anybody and everybody, if you are a grown up, if you're a child, well, maybe not a child, they may not know what productivity guilt is. But, definitely if you're grown, that feeling when you have so much to do on your to-do list and then you don't get anything done, that guilt that you're not good enough, that you're less than, so it's like measuring how much you get done, measuring how much you got done towards certain goals, certain projects, certain things. I struggle with productivity guilt, especially related to the podcast, not doing all the things, not posting. Okay, you say same and you're over here crushing your content, Missy. So don't let Kristen fool y'all. Seriously.
It's an illusion, guys.
No, it's not. She's crushing it. And, her follower volume, could not say follower at all. Growth shows because you've been so consistent and so great. So,
thank you.
But yeah, productivity guilt, it's something along with ADHD that I've been really trying to work on. And not productivity guilt as a whole, but just being more intentional, better with my routines and habits. And I don't know, because like I'm like an all-in kind of girl sometimes, and I have
Me
to
too.
like balance myself out that like, okay, hey, you can't do 73 things in one day, despite how much your brain may convince you otherwise.
Right. And I
So,
think that's one thing that I really want, the audience to, learn from this. And also just to realize that, like you mentioned on your episode when you kind of talked about it, that like you're not alone. And I think that was like one big important thing that I wanted to stress is that like if any of the other girlies are anything like us, then I'm sure they deal with this. And no matter what you're doing when it comes to work or things around the house, like it's okay. We're all going to feel those feelings. We
yep.
all put these big tasks on ourselves, and then it
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you may or may not get it done, but it's fine.
It is fine. It is fine. I want to say this, and this I've learned from my ADHD. Well, first off, before I even say this, I just want to say one thing about ADHD. I got diagnosed when I was 18, and literally the doctor was like, hey, like, I think things have changed, but it was like, you know, those like little like not infographics, maybe it's infographic, but it's like a little image and it has like a really sad face all the way to happy. And it's like 0 to 10. And it's like, how are you feeling today? It was basically something like that, but related to ADHD. So it was like, do you struggle to focus? Yeah. Like it was like 4 questions. It was so simple. And then he gave me some prescription and boom, there you go. Have a great day. That was it. No explanation of what ADHD was, nothing explaining like how I function with it. So it wasn't until like the past like 2 to 3 years after I went through like a mental health kind of crisis, what's that D word? Depression. Yep. Anxiety. Yep. And guess what? We are still fabulous, beautiful, amazing human beings just because we experienced it. We are not less than because of it. Just FYI.
Yes.
But with my new therapist that I was working with, getting through that, I learned a lot about ADHD. And I learned so much of the things, so many of the things that I judge myself for. I hold myself back. Like, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, I'm going to be honest. Like sometimes the inner narrative is not healthy. And it's like, why can't you get this done? Like, are you an idiot? Like, why? Like everything was, I'm not good enough, and never like, maybe it's your ADHD, your learning ability, like not learning abilities, but like learning curves, learning quirks, how you go about things. So in learning about ADHD and how that affects your brain, I started to realize, oh, it's not that I'm less than, it's just like, I got to kind of shift how I go about things because my ADHD holds me back. So I still am guilty of this. I'm a lot better, and it's interesting because like I can tell when I'm really good with it, I get a lot more done, but I am the queen, and this is not a good crown to wear, of trying to tackle on too much. I will create a literally 30 task list, to-do list that I think I'm going to accomplish in one day, one evening after my 9 to 5 is over. And of course that's not going to happen. Like it's not reasonable to think that you as a single individual can accomplish all of this in one day. So it's interesting how I have started to piece together ADHD tendencies and how these things affect me versus or against the productivity goals and my routines and habits. Cause it all kind of blends together because okay, I got all this I want to do, but if I don't have a good routine, that's going to hold me back. So productivity guilt, so many things. It could be ADHD. It could be you need a better system. It could be that you need to be sleeping more. Maybe you're not sleeping enough. It could be that you're not eating enough. It's so many different things, but somehow we just judge ourselves for it. That's what's not cool.
I think staying away from the judgment part is something that I've been struggling with as well, because to your point, scheduling stuff after your 9 to 5 is so unrealistic. And I feel like I always do that to myself where I'm just like, okay, after I'm done with work, then I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it's especially when it comes to the pod, you have a million and one things that you want to do after work, but then it's when are you going to find time to, actually be able to turn your mind off after your shower and enjoy your self-care? I find myself putting on my lotion and I'm disassociating, thinking about something else I need to do. And it's this is supposed to be my relaxing time, my relaxing moment of the evening, and it's
exactly.
I realized the other week that I was so focused on work, and then I also had a webinar for work, and then I also was doing stuff that I had to do for the pod that I forgot to eat.
Ooh.
And I'm like, hello, like I love to eat, I love to chow down. So that is literally not like me. And it was really concerning. And my boyfriend's like, are you well? And I'm like, no, I'm
No.
not.
You're probably anxious too. Like, it's interesting. Like, I will forget to eat and I'll be in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff. And then I'll get really anxious, not quite hangry, but just like,
Okay, that happens to you too.
oh,
Because
the hanger?
if I don't
Yes.
eat, the hangry, but mainly like it affecting your anxiety.
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah.
I notice that if I take too long to eat, because this literally happened to me yesterday. I woke up and then I tend to not eat until like 3 p.m. because I don't like breakfast.
Yeah.
But then in the end, it's like you wait too long and then I'm like, oh, I feel awful. Like my anxiety is just so bad for some reason. And then I get grumpy and then I realize like, oh, I just need to eat.
And then, but also like but because you haven't eaten, you're not going to be inspired or motivated to do anything later on in the evening anyways. Yeah. I do that all the time. I actually sometimes like I will, like if I know the day is going to be kind of crazy, I will write, don't forget to eat at the top of like my list. I've also been, because this happens to me all the time. And I saw on TikTok that, and again, I do not know the science behind this, so don't quote me, don't at me, everybody, but something about like an ADHD tendency is like to forget to eat or skip eating, or like, cause you get so tunnel vision into what you're doing. And so I have tried to buy like kind of like Lunchables, like, but like easy, like protein, cheese, meat, like
Oh, that's a
base
good idea.
snacks.
Yeah.
So that if I do forget to eat or something like that, I'm like ravenous or I'm dying because like, you know, I haven't taken care of myself. I have a migraine, whatever. I can just pop in like some meat, some jerky, a piece of cheese, and give me that like protein bit. I don't know, not to go off and give you guys a bunch of diet
to
words,
your
but
routine though.
it helps. It helps
Yeah.
so much. Cause otherwise, like I was eating like popcorn or chips, which that's fine. I love snacks, but like when you're not eating any kind of protein and like that's my intermittent meal, you know, like that's not healthy or good. And, so yeah, I'm trying to be better about that because I have really bad hormonal acne ever since I came off birth control. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, eating gummy snacks as an intermittent like meal, like gummy bears instead of like ham is not good.
Oh yeah. And I think that like one thing that I, when it comes to productivity for me that I get so caught up in, and I don't know if anyone listening could relate to this, is like I will have so much productivity guilt about like getting things done in between my breaks and stuff with working from home. And sometimes I feel like because I'm working from home, like I'm the one that's here all day, I'm the main one who manages the house. While my boyfriend is the one that goes out, then I feel like, oh, by the time he comes home, I've been home all day, so I may as well do this, this, and this during my break. And then I get that productivity guilt from that. But it's like, at the end of the day, my therapist always reminds me, you work 40 hours a week too, even if it is in your home.
Yep.
So trying to fill your breaks with other things instead of actually taking a break defeats the purpose of a freaking break. Like, take that time for you. But then it's like sometimes I end up finding myself like, okay, I'm going to take my 15-minute. And then I just keep looking at the laundry and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should do that. And then that ended up causing me to have like a spiral the other week because I was so focused on feeling guilty about my productivity because I was kind of like in a mental rut for a while. So I kind of neglected like a couple of things I needed to do. So when I woke up one day, I know you can probably relate. I suddenly had a burst of energy and I'm like, okay, I got to do this, this, and this in between working all day. So I would take my break from work. I got up, went in the kitchen and did something, but then I suddenly thought, there's this one thing I needed to do in the laundry room. So then I went in the laundry room and I did that. And then that led me to be like, oh yeah, there's this other thing. And then my room. And then I went back to my room and I ended up bouncing literally all over the house. This literally happened a couple of weeks ago. And in that process of my mind just being filled with like that productivity guilt and being like, I got to get this done, I lost my phone. I was like, where the heck is my phone? Because I was listening to a podcast. I had my AirPod in and I don't know where the phone is. Tell me why I left it on the stove. And I'm like, how did it get there? Like, and because my mind was so busy and I was just thinking like, I got to just go, go, go. I don't even remember even being by the stove. And then I had to think like, when was I even over here? I don't know if you can relate to that, but.
Oh, no, I've been there. Honestly, when you first started telling that story, I thought you were going to say something like, well, then I had this thought and you didn't complete the original task and you kept moving on. Cause sometimes I do that. Like I'll
Right.
sit down to go do something and then I'll think, wait a second. I have so much laundry to do. This task is going to be a lot easier if I get the laundry done, because then the laundry is not going to bother me, even though like that makes no logical sense. Like me sitting down on my computer to like research something or trends or keywords or whatever the heck we all do as content creator girlies.
Yeah.
And then my brain's like, okay, you literally cannot Google and search content until you go fold the laundry. Even though
No,
the
'cause
laundry
that's
has
me
nothing to do
too.
with my Googling of the content. But it's like my brain,
Right.
like that's ADHD, and that will lead to productivity guilt. It also leads, one thing I want to ask you is, do you ever get immobilized where you're like, okay, I want to do this. Like I need to record this episode. I need to go edit this episode. I need to go do all the laundry. I need to like lay out and prep the crock pot meal I'm cooking for me and Bay later. I need to go. And then you just don't know which, you need to do all of them and they're all very important. But then it's like, which one do I do? And it's like, you just can't do it. And you're like, it's like, it's like stuck, right?
No, I was going to say my answer to that is yes. And speaking of, I had an article ready from Psychology Today because I wanted to learn more about the definition of it. And it mentions that. And it says that productivity guilt is a mindset that makes a person feel bad about themselves for not working hard enough and for not being able to achieve 100% of their goals, especially career goals, every day. This guilt leads to intrusive thoughts. You may feel like you're not good enough or like you're inadequate. And this may cause you to be overwhelmed by the task at hand and lead to a type of cognitive paralysis where you end up doing nothing at all. So yeah, to answer your question, with that Psychology Today article, I literally have felt that way. And then you end up being like, okay, well, because I put so much pressure on all of these different tasks, then you just, like you said, end up getting none of the tasks done.
Yep. So this is my hack for that.
Yes.
And
Let's get into the hacks.
This is something I worked on with my therapist. Now, just a quick, like, give you like a recap. At this point in my mental health journey, we'll call it that, I was so depressed. I had kind of ignored my mental health for several years after a major car accident, and I had PTSD, a bunch of crap, and I was not taking care of myself. Have you ever watched Euphoria?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Do you know the episode? I think it's season 2 when Rue has really bad depression, and it's like the episode is like a like bird's eye looking view of her depression. Like she ends up having like a kidney, something because she can't, like she is too depressed to go pee. Like
she was down bad that episode.
That episode was so triggering for me. I never had a kidney infection because I was too depressed to go to the bathroom, but I was at that point where I was so depressed, I was annoyed that I had to get up to use the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I feel you on that.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong when you are that low. When you're that low, it's looking back on it, it's crazy to think like I beat myself up over that. Like I was not okay. I couldn't even brush my teeth. So even though I wasn't taking care of myself, I knew something, like even though I was totally disattached to myself, my body, right? I would fold clothes and I would notice that I was never folding my clothes. I was only folding my husband's. And that's because I wasn't bathing. I wasn't taking a shower. I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I finally started telling my therapist about this. Now, mind you, this is like a year, a little bit like a year before I launched the pod. But the pod had still been a work in progress for a couple of years up until that point. It was something I really wanted. And so I would just like cry and like, I'm a loser. I can't do this podcast. And it's something that I really want to do. Like I must be so stupid and dumb if I can't even focus on something I really care about and I'm passionate about. Oh, I want to do this. I want to look for a house. I want to get a new job, all these different things. And they're all big things, but they were also all things that had an inner narrative that I wasn't good enough. I was less than whatever. I remember when I was talking to my therapist and she said, what makes you think you have to do all of these huge, big things all at once? And I was like, cause I'm like, well, my head tells me I have to. And like, it's things I care about and things I want. So like, obviously if I can't do it, then
will tell
it's
you.
me.
Yes.
And she was like, you just told me that you can't even wash your face or brush your teeth. What makes you think that you're going to be able to launch a podcast that you're passionate about, look for a new job, do all these different things if you can't even take care of yourself?
Right.
And it was like her giving me permission that I didn't like. It was the first time I really felt like I could take this pressure off myself. And she was like, I want you to work on your tasks, like your to-do lists. I want you to simplify. So this was my first lesson in simplifying and how I went about, like, because mind you, it was so overwhelming to think about washing my face and brushing my teeth at the time.
Yeah.
I would look at my face wash or look at the toothbrush and I would think, okay, I can do a minute. I can give myself a minute. It's going to take me a minute, 1 minute. I can give myself 1 minute to brush my teeth. And slowly but surely, I got to a point where I was taking care of myself and I had to like start from literally ground zero. And now look at me. I have my pod. I'm killing it. Like, well,
Yes.
killing it, quote unquote. Like I still need to be consistent, but
No,
you know what I mean?
You're still killing it.
Well, I'm not killing it like you are, Kristen, but we'll get there. And then, so that was a great foundation in starting to kind of juggle that inner narrative when you're beating yourself up over not getting everything done.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. We're crushing it, learning about our ADHD. TikTok is diagnosing me. Freaking love it. Like, you know, whatever.
Same.
And I remember my new therapist that I've been with for like a year and a half. I showed her this like list one day and it was like mad chicken scratch. Like it was insane. Like all my little bullets and stuff. And she was like, whoa, that's your to-do list for today? And I was like, well, I mean, today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, whatever. And she's like, that is overwhelming. What makes you think you're going to get all that done? Because I was talking about how I kept getting immobilized. She's like, well, no wonder why. Like, that's a lot. That's overwhelming. Where do you start? And even if I organize it by easy to medium to hard, like it was way too much. She's like, you have to simplify. And it reminded me of my other therapist when I could not take care of myself. So I got in a routine of, even though my brain wants to tell me everything is important right now, and if you don't do it all, then you're going to fail. It's not going to happen. Just insert whatever bad intrusive thought you can think of. I had to learn like, all right, the world won't end. What is the most important thing today? And I was very mindful not to give myself like, all right, I need to fold the clothes shirt. I need to record a podcast episode. Okay. I also need to edit one. And then I'm also going to make a TikTok. And then I'm also going to research how to like build a WordPress website. And I'm like, whoa. That's way too many huge
Literally
things.
Same.
So it's about pacing yourself. And it like, if you were to say, okay, I'm going to be very intentional today. Like I'm Kristen. Okay. I'm going to take what Elizabeth said. I'm going to do 4 things today. You may do 4 things and knock it out of the park, but it also may take you a second to kind of find that pace with yourself.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point, is trial and error. And then continually to reinforce the mentality that even if you don't get it all done, that doesn't mean it's not going to get done. And that you deserve the permission to pace yourself, to be easy on yourself. Yes. Because if not, you're just going to get immobilized. And then what happens? Nothing.
Yeah. So, I've been literally trying to talk to my sister about that too, because she's been feeling the same thing. And to make it worse, we think that she's got like ADHD because she's on the spectrum, but then combined with that, and she's been thinking about starting her podcast too. And it's like, she gets the momentum and then it goes down. She gets the momentum and goes down. It's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Start with one, Canva. You haven't even finalized the title. You haven't even finalized like the podcast cover. Start small. Yeah.
But that's so much easier said than done. Like I remember when I was about to launch my podcast, I thought I had to have a website and all of this stuff and music and a polished logo and just all these things. Now thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I was so, I'm going to say this as a joke, dumb, but not really dumb, but like I was so novice. I was so new. And to think that that's what I had to, like, girl, no. Once I let that pressure off, and I literally had to go to one of my best friends, and I was like, I need you to tell me to do it. I need you to tell me that I'm going to leave your house right now, and I'm going to go record the first episode of the In Between podcast. And she was like, you're going to go do it. Like, you are going to go do it. Like, you're going to leave here and you're going to go record that first episode. And guess what? That's what I did. So if you go and listen to my pod In Between Draft Mode, that's the very first episode I recorded. I was scared shitless. It's like 8 minutes. You can probably hear the fear in my voice, but I did it. And then I learned, oh my God, starting is the hardest part. It is so easy to get caught in the details. The details will come. The details are important. where I'm not trying to tell you that they're not important. The pod
Right.
cover, all those are important, but just start. Like you said, start with a simple thing. Don't worry. Like, think about your pod name first, then think about the cover art, or maybe do your pod name and then just record one episode to see what comes out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Don't worry about having every single thing put together. And that isn't just with like starting a pod. It's anything, starting a new job, buying a house, finding your lover, getting married, whatever, like planning your first big trip. I planned my first big trip by myself last year when we went to Italy, and that was overwhelming as hell. But you know what?
I bet.
Once I was done though, like once we actually did the trip, I was like, oh my God, I did that and I'm badass. You know?
I feel the same way because I'm the one that orchestrates the trips for my family too. And it's like, I get anxiety and task paralysis just from even choosing the hotel, because then I obsess over every single review. And then if I see one mention of a bug, then I got to move on to the next.
Yep.
And then it's like, it continues to kill me up until the point where maybe even up until the deadline where you can cancel a reservation, I will find another hotel, cancel that one. And it's like, it never ends until we actually make it to our destination, because I'm like, okay, maybe I got to find something better and cheaper. And then it continues to kill me. And I'm like, when is this going to end?
You know, I was so proud when I planned that trip, but then I was like, Stan, you're planning the next one. So we'll see. Although I felt very accomplished, I don't know if I want to do it again because it was too much pressure.
It is. It's a lot of pressure. And I feel like, especially with the pressure that we put on ourselves, when it comes to trip planning, like it gets intense. And then I would say, and then I've been watching Love Island. No, but yeah, I feel the same way. And I think I struggle with this, especially, when it comes to the podcast. I know other people can maybe relate it to whatever else they may be dealing with, but we can only talk about what we experience.
Right.
When it comes to the pod, I feel the same way, where I put so much pressure on the productivity of it, to where it's like right after we finish recording an episode, then I'm like, okay, well, time to edit it right away. But then I also forget that I also have another list of like 2 other things I need to edit, and this other thing that I need to do tend to. And then it ends up being to the point where it's like, I'm now working 3 weeks in advance when really it's not even that serious. I don't need to keep jumping ahead that far. And I find myself just trying to like almost beat my own self. Like I can get ahead of me. But it's like, it's me versus me. It's not that serious. Relax. Like, just take it one day at a time. But I always end up thinking so far ahead in the future instead of just, like you said, taking it step by step. And then it just...
Well, I want you to know, I get stuck with that too. I get stuck in the future, but then that will also immobilize me sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's about giving yourself grace, finding things that work for you. And honestly, the biggest thing, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, is it's learning how to shut that inner narrative off.
Right.
If you have the bandwidth and you want to like be well in advance, that's okay. You don't need to beat yourself up over it. For me, like, we're going to record this, we're going to do a pod swap after this, and you're going to come on my pod. I'm probably going to close my laptop because I'm going to be dead. You know what I mean? Mentally, after working 9 to 5 and then, us like sparkling our magic everywhere, which is great. So it's finding what works for you, finding that and like, here's one of the biggest things that I believe in is that we're always a work in progress. Like, ever since my mental health spiral, I have been in therapy, working on myself, whatever. And I'm great. I'm good. I'm in a good place, but like, I'm always growing. I'm always evolving. Like, even if I do have like a grip on one thing, like, sure, it can always be better, or there might be something else. And I don't mean that from like a necessarily perfectionist, like, filter, like, where it's never good enough. I'm just constant, like, no, like there comes a moment where I can appreciate like what I've done, where I've come from, like in my growth and progress, but just give, like, the more that you work on it and whatever it is, like you're launching a podcast, you want to look for a new job. There's so many big projects, big tasks are overwhelming. And like, at least for me, sometimes that's where I get immobilized too. Cause like, it's like, all right, I want to start a podcast. But then there's like all your other life stuff too that you got to worry about, like keeping your household managed, feeding yourself, moving your body, going for a walk, spending time with your partner, your family, whatever the case. Like, there's just always so much shit to do. So the first thing that I think in getting through it or getting your shit done is just being intentional and mindful of that inner narrative. Because like, how are you going to get anything done? Like, how are you going to be productive if you're beating yourself up? And again, I say that, and it's not like I've got that figured out all by myself. Like I still definitely struggle with that, but it's a good thing to be reminded of, that if you are putting suffering, if you are not intentionally suffering, but that inner narrative, that intrusive thought, that negative spiral, of course you're not going to get as much done. And then you're going to feel even worse about it because you've had such a bad inner narrative with it. You know what I mean? Right. So just simplify and work on the narrative that the world will not end. Like you're not going to fail as a podcaster or fail as a whatever you're trying to do, because you don't get everything done. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, when you're talking about getting all this done, you kind of like black out and you're like, well, I struggle with that sometimes too. And I've learned like when that happens, it's like, I am not being present. Yeah. And that's another big thing. Like, I don't know how much time has like gone, like, how do I say this? I don't know how much time has passed when I like, for example, after my car accident, and granted I had a very severe concussion, so there was that element of it, but I don't remember really anything from like 2017, 2019, because like I just wasn't okay. And I was doing way too much, pushing myself way too hard. Like literally, like it was like a blackout. Like I remember one time Stan, that's my husband, he was like, remember when we went to the Christmas lights at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens in 2018? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he shows me a picture and I'm like, I have no recollection of that event. Like what? Like
trauma will black you out quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you're stressed and overwhelmed and you're still crushing like 12,000 things, that's still not healthy. Like you have to have enough time to give yourself like a break. Like you said, a break is a break, but like somehow we still can't swallow that. I don't know. Like it's very weird. Like relaxing. What's that word? I should relax. What? How do I do that?
I think overall, like what we're both trying to say here, people, is hashtag be kind to your mind. Okay.
Yes. That's be kind to your minds. Love that. All right. We're gonna have a rap song and that's going to be our bar. All right.
No, right. And I think one thing that's like really been helping me here, folks, is like beating the productivity guilt by doing something else in place of what you plan to do, because sometimes getting that list done isn't really meant for you in that moment. And I think that that's one thing that you also have to realize is that like no matter how much you want to get done, maybe it's just not time for you to get that done right then and there. So what I've been doing is kind of just pushing it away and finding other healthy ways to distract my mind when it comes to like reading lately. I was just talking about this on another pod that I was on the other week, where I was referencing the fact that I've been reading a lot on my iPad. Since the beginning of January, I've read like 3 books alone. So I'm like, wow, I'm in my reading era. Yeah. Yes. And honestly, I feel like it's helped me find so much more of a balance when it comes to my productivity between my 9 to 5 and the pod. Because if I'm reading, I don't have time to continuously keep having my mind swirling, thinking about this, that, and the other on my list. So that could be another thing to consider too when it comes to that, because you don't always have to fill up like every single space with getting this, that, and the other done. Because I noticed that I was falling into kind of like a bad pattern where anytime I had free time, I'm sitting on the couch, it's me and my boyfriend after work, we're chilling. Then I'm like, well, if I have my phone here, may as well start working on the pod. And it's like, that's not good. No. But replacing that with reading has been really, really helpful for me, because at the end of the day, like I'm still doing something that's like nourishing my mind or whatever. Yeah. I'm having fun. And that way I can be able to have that little bit of distraction too. So that's one thing that I've been doing personally for the past month.
No, that's great. I think that's great. And you are still being productive. Cause like, if you want to, like, I mean, you see all the books behind me, like, reading, that's going to be on my to-do list because I want to read. I want to like entertain myself, or I want to like educate myself, right? Like sometimes I get a lot of content in the books that I read. So it's like you're still being productive and you're giving yourself like the time and space to do something that you enjoy doing. So it's like it's like self-care. It's also like relaxing. It's still being productive in a way. And it's like just refreshing your brain, giving it that break, that space. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think that's important, because I would often, even like I would be overwhelmed with all the things I want to accomplish. I would then get immobilized. And then I was also ignoring all those other things like reading that I want to do. Like, you are allowed to have hobbies. You are allowed to do things that bring you joy, and you need to do those things because you can't do the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9, and be a functioning human in society. Like, you're going to be miserable and depressed, like it just, don't beat yourself up, overwhelm yourself, ease into it.
Yeah, because I was having so much guilt, like when I did start getting back into the reading, because I'm like, oh, I'm reading, but I should actually be working on editing this clip. But I had to like change that negative self-talk and be like, no, this is really what I need to be at right here.
And how are you now? Like, since you've kind of been, and not granted, I know it's like just been this month, but like, have you seen a difference? Like,
it's been a world of a freaking difference, Elizabeth.
Really? You heard it here, people. You hear Kristen. She's telling you right now. So we're not full of crap.
Literally, like, it has made so much of a difference. Like, I'm able to actually work on the pod stuff, at an appropriate time, rather than just obsessively doing it pretty much from the time I clock out to the time I go to bed. Like, it's helped a lot.
Good.
So I would recommend.
Highly recommend. Another hack that I have that has really helped me. So with ADHD, and I think just anxiety, or maybe just being a woman, I don't freaking know, but I have a million thoughts going around my head, like a mile a minute, right? Like, so many thoughts. Like, we're talking right now and I'm thinking about the chores I gotta do. I'm just kidding. I'm very much in touch with you, but who can relate? Like, you're on a webinar and you're paying attention because this is really important for your job. And then you're like, well, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Oh crap. I gotta go get some carrots for that roast later. And then you start just thinking all the 20,000 things you gotta do at any given moment, all the time. So I struggle with that. I struggle with shutting out the noise. So I have found non-lyrical, like no lyric based music has really helped me. And I don't even just mean like classical music, like that helps too, but like Spotify or Apple Music, I will look for creative focused playlists. And most often it's just like, sometimes it's jazz, but mostly it's like kind of like a, not techno where it's like boom, boom, boom. And you're like, all right, I feel like I'm getting like, a headache, a migraine. It's like kind of quirky, whimsical, upbeat music, but it just, because it's not the lyrics, I don't get distracted by it, but it like, I don't know, it just keeps me focused. So if I'm like really, I'm going to go power hour, like do a bunch of shit, do a bunch of tasks, chores, I will put in my headphones and boom, put that thing on and I am doing it. Cause I can't, even as a podcaster, I can't listen to podcasts and do that kind of stuff. Or for chores I can, but like if I'm doing work stuff, I can't focus on that and listen to somebody's voice. Like I can't. My brain's like, no can do.
See, for some reason I can, but
a lot of people
it really depends on the level of the task I'm doing when it comes to work stuff too, though.
That's true.
Like if it's something like to the point where it's like, I got to take a little test for like one of my CEUs, like my education credits. And it's like, gotta pause that pod. But that is a really good tip too. I never thought about that because sometimes, especially when it comes to like cleaning, I'll turn my jams on. And then there's like so many videos that my sister has of me when we used to like share the same room before I moved out, of me like dancing. And I'm like, I was supposed to be cleaning my vanity, but then the music distracts me. And it's like, this is defeating the purpose.
Hey, nothing wrong with a little dance party. But to your point, that's why those like creative, like it's like not any kind of music I'm like I reference or I'm aware of. Like I don't know who these artists are. It's just these random, I don't even know, like jingles, something you hear at Barnes and Noble. I don't even know.
Right.
But
I love that Barnes and Noble music moment.
Yes, that really helps. It really helps. It does. It's like kind of elevator music, but like doesn't put you to sleep. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
right. It's like upbeat enough to keep you kind of still in your zone.
Exactly. But not where upbeat so much where you're like, oh, I feel like I'm like on like, I don't know, really
giving heavy metal type of vibe. And you're like, this is too much.
Yeah. Like there is a time and place for heavy metal, but like when I'm trying to focus, that's not it.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm really, really glad that we were able to talk about this. Kind of just let the girlies know, like I said at the beginning of the episode, that they are not alone.
No.
We all tend to struggle with this. I hope that we were able to kind of give you guys different ways on how to tackle the productivity guilt. And I think, like I said, the hashtag be kind to your mind is really just the point that we're trying to make here.
I love that.
Make sure that you are being gentle with yourself, giving yourself grace, actually taking your breaks. Don't listen to me, guys, when it comes to that. Take your freaking breaks.
We're going to have a talk, Kristen, after this. We're going to, I'm just kidding. All right, ma'am. No, but take your breaks. Your body will thank you. And love yourself. Love yourself, because you are so worthy of being loved. Like, you are amazing. You are amazing.
Yes. Well, that brings us to our next segment. I'm not sure if you heard on my show, I do favorite thing of the week. Of course, that can be like any show you're watching, music you're listening to, an event you went to. It could just be anything where you look back at your week and you're just like, man, like that was my best part of the week. So what is your vibe this week? What's your favorite?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, my favorite thing this week has been doing the pod swap with you, and then a pod swap I did yesterday, because I have been crushing my productivity.
Yes.
Like, that's like, I actually didn't even mean to like make that connected, but yeah, I did so much yesterday and so much today. Like, this podcast swap with you and then the ladies yesterday, like, it really had me focused. And I thought to myself, all right, I can either get distracted, or I can just really simmer down, put in that playlist, like in my headphones, and just really crush. And I got so much done. And the feeling of crushing your to-do list, it is so nice.
Oh, I love that. We love a productivity girly. Like, you've been doing it in a good way, a healthy way. And it's just very apparent that like you're putting the work in to make sure that you're continuously trying to get better and have that balance. So I love that you've had a great week in that way.
Thank you. What about you? What's been your best moment? What's been your favorite
thing of the week this week has surprisingly been Harry Potter.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. I'm not sure if you're a Harry Potter girl.
Yeah, I'm a Gryffindor.
No, because so to make it quick, I have never been a Harry Potter girl. Like, when I was young, for some reason, the movies scared me. I think it was just because I saw like the, creepy aspect of it with the magic and things like that.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I was never into kind of like fantasy. I was never into the witchy wizard type of vibe. But then as I got older, I started getting into more of that vibe. And there's that show on Netflix called The Winx Saga. It used to be
I saw that.
Yeah. And it used to be the like animated one, but then they made it the live action. And I was like, I am a fairy girl down. So once I started getting into that, I was just like, I love all things magic. Like, why was I not in this to win this before? So then fast forward to now, my boyfriend's been playing Hogwarts on the PS5.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I've been learning like all the spells and stuff like that, learning, and exploring Hogwarts. I'm just like, oh my God, I love this. Like, I truly think that now, since I love, wizard stuff and fairy stuff and things like that, I will probably be way more receptive to getting into the world of Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh.
So,
have you seen the movies?
Yes. And that's what I was going to say. The favorite thing of the week is this weekend, sweetie. We got into it. After playing half of the game of Hogwarts, I've been watching him do, we were like, we got to get into the movie. So we finished the first one, and we're halfway through the second one.
I, first off, love that you're watching Harry Potter for the first time.
Yes.
You're going to have to read the books next, because the books are better. But that is amazing. I freaking love Harry Potter. That's like a comfort movie. Like, all of them.
Yes.
Like, they're so good.
Now that I'm older and wiser and I can appreciate it, I can see why. And I felt so like I was just in it. Like, the way I was almost just like standing up and be like, yes, Harry, you can do it.
Not me. Not Hermione. You.
So funny that you say that, because I have been seeing that meme on TikTok, and I had
when I make my move,
you're free to check the king. No, Ron, no! He's going to sacrifice himself.
He's going to sacrifice himself. Oh my God, I snorted. That is literally, I can't.
The way I didn't even know that Hermione was her name. Not me. Hermione.
Not me.
You.
I'm dying. I am dying. That is so funny. That was
my girl's name. I was like, what is a Hermione?
What is a Hermione?
So once we watched the movie Saturday, and I saw the scene where I've been seeing people do dances to the scene. Have you been seeing those TikToks where the girlies have
they're like in their
dancing?
kitchen, like doing like a DJ set to it. Like, they're so like, I've seen so many creative videos to that. You're talking about that when I make my move.
My move. Yeah. Dancing to the scene.
Once I make my move, then you're free to check the king. No, Ron, no! What is it? He's going to sacrifice himself. No, you can't. There must be another way. Do you want to stop Snape from getting that stone or not? Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me, not Hermione, you.
I was like, I'd never known. And I was like, especially the fact that it was the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I was so gagged and gooped when I saw the infamous scene, I was like, it's all clicking. I didn't even know. I was like, I love Ron down. I love his friends.
He's the best.
Like, oh my God, the trolls, like everything about it was just like sucking me in. And I just can't wait. Like, I'm pretty sure by the end of this week, we will be done with the entire series. And then I'm going to move on to the books because now I'm like looking at the book covers and I'm like, wow, that looks so exciting. And so
the world building is amazing. You're going to love it. The world building is amazing. I really want to know your thoughts on Prisoner of Azkaban and the Goblet of Fire. That's 3 and 4. Those are my favorites. Cause then it just gets really dark after that, but it's still good, but it's just not as like the fourth one, which is the Goblet of Fire. That's when things start to get a little bit darker, in terms of like he who must not be named and all of that. But, Prisoner of Azkaban is definitely my favorite, all-time favorite movie and book. So,
that's good to know. I'll have to hit you up in the DM so we can talk about that and get more into it once I get in there. But I just had no idea that like Harry was even treated the way that he was treated. Yeah. Like his family was so crappy. And I'm like, poor guy. Then he goes to Hogwarts and he's like celebrity. And I'm like, I didn't know.
And he's like, oh, this scar? What?
It's just a video every time this scar kind of hurts. And he's like, oh.
Like he's like, I got a migraine.
Not me, not Hermione.
You. God, I love it. I really do love it. And once you're done with Harry Potter, if you haven't read yet, you got to read ACOTAR, The Court of Thorns and Roses. Have you?
I've heard about it. Yes. I've heard about it. But
if you're a fantasy girly, you got to get on that.
And that's what, I'm fully getting into my fantasy girly era.
It's fairies. Because you said you're a fairy girl, so it's about fairies.
Yeah. Okay, great. Oh my God. I got to keep coming to you with the recommendations. We see the books in the back. You know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I like to read. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like to read.
No, yeah. And I think that's like really good for me because, you know, notoriously since I was young until now, I don't know if it's the Pisces in me, but I'm always super dreamy. So romance has been my genre.
Then you have to read ACOTAR. It's a romance fantasy novel series.
See, it's the best of both worlds. No Hannah Montana.
You're going to die.
We're getting into it. I can't wait.
You're going to die. Oh my God. Kristen, you're going to die. It's in a great way. A great, beautiful death.
Oh my God. I can't wait. Okay. I'm going to make sure I keep in touch with you when it comes to the recommendations because I got to check that out. I'm excited. We need to. I've been trying to do one with my sister, but it's like we don't really have the same wavelength when it comes to books and stuff. So it's been difficult, but we really got to get into that. Like, I love it. I'm just really hoping that in 2024, I can stay consistent when it comes to the book reading because it's like I'll go hard for 3 months and then take a break. But honestly, like, I guess that's not that bad. I can't beat myself up about it.
What do we agree on this episode? We give ourselves grace.
Yep. Exactly. So guys, when you're listening over the next like couple of weeks, I'm sure I'll be talking about Harry Potter and sharing my thoughts on that. It's getting to the point where now I've made it onto Harry Potter Talk and I have been liking and saving videos so that way I don't have any spoilers. So once I'm done with the series, I can go back and look at all people's thoughts. It's getting that real.
I love it. We're getting deep in it. Roll our sleeves up.
Oh yeah, but yes, that was our favorite thing of the week. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining me. I've had a blast helping the girlies with productivity. I can't wait to film your episode.
Yes.
And of course, like I said at the beginning of the episode, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on both of our YouTubes. Rate us those 5 stars on Spotify and Apple and leave us a review, letting us know what you think about the episode. And with that, I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Cause I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby. I'm not going home with y'all.